It's Saturday afternoon. It's the freaking Super Bowl tomorrow. Super Bowl 57. Our hometown Kansas City Chiefs there for the third time in 4 seasons. Patrick Mahomes taking them to the promised land with Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and company. We can celebrate that for a moment, but really we're here to find the best ways to attack this game on Fanduel this week. We got to get all that fandom out. We got to throw it aside. We are here to win some money. Let's get into it.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Yeah. Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Patent pockets. Take the dollar, dollar. Can a damn soul stop it?
Let's go. We are ready to rock FanDuel Super Bowl. You know, I end up going probably too much, probably put too much into it, as we all do, right? The betting, the DFS side of things. It's just such a cool game and cool atmosphere to play that everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants a piece of the action. I'm here to talk through really mostly DFS stuff, how to handle FanDuel, single game slate. It's a different type of strategy that we haven't really talked a whole lot about through the season. I have been quite successful with single game slates this year, and so we have touched on it here and there throughout the year. But if you've been with us all season, you know most of the time we're just talking main slate stuff and not as much single game stuff. So we'll get through that and kind of see how that looks this week with FanDuel. But first, welcome in. Welcome into the Rumbles of Red. We are powered by Stadium Rant and StadiumRant.com. Go check them out. I saw an article on there about all the scripted NFL and all that buzz that's going around. I feel like it kind of goes around at this time of year every year, because what are people going to do for 2 weeks, right? Between the championship games and the Super Bowl, they just talk too much. So go check that out over at StadiumRant.com. Thank you for being here. Hit that like button if you will. Subscribe to the Stadium Rant YouTube channel. That's 110 subscribers, and we're only 2 months into this thing, so super pumped about that. Wanted to get to 150 before the Super Bowl. We will settle for whatever we can get. We'll be here all off season as well, whether it's myself or some of the other shows going on over at Stadium Rant YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. As we get into this, I'm going to talk about all the players, how to break it down, but we really need to think about the script that you think is going to play out. How do you think the game's going to play out? Every single lineup needs to tell a story when it comes to single game slates. And that's what I'm really going to harp on today, is what is the story that the lineup is telling us? Does it make sense? Is it within the range of outcomes? So I'm going to start here today. How do you think this is going to go to this week? How do you think Sunday is going to go? Let us know in the chat. What is your score predictions? We're going to build a lineup at the end. We're going to build multiple lineups at the end. Let's be honest. We're going to build lineups at the end. I want to know what your score prediction is going to be this week. Let me know in the chat, because that's where we start. What's going to happen in the game? That's how we build a lineup. We can talk, and we will talk all the players, the leverage, what players look great for the MVP to me. There's a couple that stand out quite a bit. We're gonna talk all that. But right now, what is your score prediction? Prop bets are going crazy more and more every year, especially now, honestly, with sports all across, or sports betting all across America now. You don't have to go to your offshore bank accounts. We don't have to use my bookie anymore, and you don't even know how you're going to get the money back. I remember, it was like 4 to 5 years ago. I tried to withdraw money from my bookie, and they literally sent me a check. So you don't have to deal with all that anymore. So it's so much easier. It's at our fingertips now. So definitely a lot of sports betting. I think I saw something the other day about 3 million people putting a bet down or something like that. So absolutely crazy. Drake, what is up? Welcome back. Oh, man. Drake was here on Wednesday night, absolutely killing it in the chat. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to talk a little bit about Boston Scott again today. I love it. I agree. He's a lock. Get your anytime touchdown. It was plus 500 on Wednesday night when we talked about it. So hopefully it's still there. I'm sure it's still at plus 500. So go check that out. I do want your opinion. I know you got the Eagles, but I want to hear it because that's how we're going to build lineups today. 27-24 Chiefs. That's what we like to hear. I got Kev on my good side finally. You know, he was on the Bengals side just 2 weeks ago when he was right here on the Rumbles are Red. He was incorrect, thankfully, right? Such a bargain grabbing Chiefs at plus odds, right? Plus 104 is what I saw yesterday, I believe it was. I don't know what it is now, but yeah, if you can get them at plus odds, absolutely hammer the Chiefs money line. Let's jump into some players here. Let's get into the game itself. Before we get into the game, let me show you the contest I want to play, because I think it's always important to understand where we're at contest-wise and how you're going to be playing the game. So this week, I'm going to put 20 lineups together into the Super Bowl FanDuel single game slates. This is the contest I always play for single game. We talk about it almost every week. It's a 100-person league on FanDuel, pays out top 12. I've taken this down. I think I have 6 wins this year from the 100-person league. And I only played up until this point, just play 3 lineups. It's 3 max. Play 3 lineups every single game. I think I took down 6 of them. That's the top prize money, cash in many of them. But this is the one I love the most. But this week, being the Super Bowl, I want to get a little dicey, a little spicy, add in a little bit more money, and find a little bit higher payout. So I like this flea flicker, $15 enter, 3 entries max. So I like to do this way better than, a monstrous 150 max entries, because I don't have the time. I don't have the capacity to run big sets like that and get 150 lineups in. But I can do 3, I can do 5, even up to a 20 entry max. But for the Super Bowl, I'm just doing a 3 entry here for the onside kick. Love this, 4,000 up top. In a situation like this, 2,300 lineups, we assume we're going to be duped this week. That's going to be okay. We're not going to try to get so ridiculous that we can't be duplicated at all, right? There's only so many ways to play this game, but let's try to find ways we can be less duplicated. So maybe we chop up the top 5 positions by 5 instead of chop up the top 100. So that's what we're looking to do this week. Not get too crazy with the leverage, but find a little bit of leverage there. And then this one, 5 entry max. It's a $5 entry, so $25 gets you 5 entries. Doesn't pay out as much at the top, but again, something I like to do because I'm looking for this top money this week, because it's the last week of football, right? Might as well go big for the last week. All right, now we can actually get into some players. It's all right, Kev. I forgive you. You can still come back on the show, even though you picked the Bengals last week. If the Bengals would have won, I might not have been able to invite you back, Dallas Goedert would score. He's a monster. I am going to talk about Dallas Goedert here in a little while when we break this down, because I am not as high on Goedert this week, but, his odds to score are plus 180, and, anything can happen in the Super Bowl. So you got decent odds there. Let's jump into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top of salary. So we're just going to kind of go through this salary based one by one. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on each and most every player. And then we're going to build some lineups. So I want to know, as we go through a couple things from you all. And first being, what are you doing at MVP this week? Are you taking Jalen Hurts? Are you taking Patrick Mahomes? Or are you going to take a non-quarterback MVP? And I'm talking about when you're building your lineups, right? So when we're going to start our lineup build this week, are you going to start with one of these quarterbacks? Or are you going to start with a non-quarterback? You get 1.5 points in the MVP spot. On FanDuel, it does not cost you anything extra to put something. That's different from DraftKings. If you play on DraftKings, you also pay 1.5 the salary, right? So a $10,000 guy on DraftKings would be $1,500 in the MVP spot, or captain spot, I think they call it there. So who are you going to take this week? Let me know in the comments. Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, or a non-quarterback. If you're going to only start one lineup this week, who are you putting in your MVP spot? Of course, I'm going to be mixing it up, but I kind of want to know your thoughts on who you think the best MVP spot guy is this week. 31-16 Eagles. Oh, goodness. Not even a close game? Oh, it does hurt. That does hurt. That's correct. I know what you're asking about, but that does hurt. All right, so we got just Jalen Hurts in here. We got a Travis Kelce, so a little bit of non-QB action. A little bit of non-QB action. I'm going to start talking about Patrick Mahomes, 17-5 here at the top. Most expensive player on the slate this week. ETR is projecting him to around 23%. I would definitely say his MVP spot is going to be around 25 to 30% owned on Sunday. And when I'm putting him at the MVP, I'm going to look to mix and match this guy with his pass catchers. And I'm also going to try to throw a lower level third pass catcher in here, right? So maybe it's Mahomes MVP, get Kelce in there, whatever, get MVS in there, and then try to find a guy like a Justin Watson or a Jody Fortson, somebody who I think, if Mahomes is MVP, if that's going to be the best lineup, then maybe his fourth touchdown pass goes to a guy like Justin Watson or Jody Fortson, right? So I'm going to try to find that third guy that nobody else is going to really be wanting to play, or maybe he'll just be lower owned and kind of sneak him into a Mahomes MVP lineup. I like that a lot this week. I don't play quarterbacks at the MVP spot very often, definitely less than the field. I'm going to be looking to play about 20% Patrick Mahomes at MVP while everybody else is going to be pushing 25, 30%. It's just not the way I play single game entries. It has burned me a lot in the past, but also when the quarterback optimal MVP is not the optimal MVP, it pays off pretty big. So I like to kind of not fade this, but play less than others, right? Also with Patrick Mahomes, last thing I'll say here, he's an auto flex anytime, right? If I'm going to play a Travis Kelce at MVP like Kev says here, then I'm not going to. I'm auto flexing Patrick Mahomes. Like if you're going to go Kelce, Juju, MVS, if you're going to go any of these guys at the MVP spot, I'm absolutely flexing Patrick Mahomes. It's just going to be an auto flex. MVP and it's insanity, but MVS will be throwing the ball relentless if Tony stays out. Tony's injuries are definitely going to play a big factor in this game. MVS had a heck of a game last time, might explode if the Eagles play soft coverage and shroud Kelce. The only thing that I disagree with this take, Drake, is that the Eagles cornerbacks, they can go one-on-one with MVS and Juju, I think, and they could just then put all the resources against Kelce. I do worry about that with MVS this time. It's just that the way these cornerbacks are and how good they are, they could probably beat a guy like MVS one-on-one. But in the Super Bowl, it could only take one or two big plays, and MVS could absolutely be that MVP slot optimal player. All right, talk about Jalen Hurts, the other quarterback, obviously, in the game, $17,500 less than Patrick Mahomes, which actually surprises me a little bit on FanDuel, just because of the way, Jalen Hurts, the only reason he didn't end up as the number one fantasy quarterback was because he got hurt, right? It's because he got hurt. Otherwise, he's been averaging the best fantasy points per game all season long. So I'm a little surprised that Jalen Hurts is less than Patrick Mahomes here, but $500 cheaper. He is expected to be the highest owned MVP this week, and for really good reason. Obviously, his rushing floor makes him a smash play this week. The difference really for Hurts, if I'm putting Hurts at MVP, I don't think you have to double stack him. I don't think you have to triple stack him like you're going to do with Mahomes. If you're playing Mahomes at MVP, you're expecting him to throw 4 touchdowns because he's not going to get it done on the ground. He has to throw 4 touchdowns to be optimal, 3 or 4 touchdowns, right, to be optimal. So you're expecting that, so you got to hit this pass catcher. Jalen Hurts at MVP does not have to throw the ball at all. He could come out with 0 passing touchdowns and be the optimal MVP because his rushing floor is so high. They get inside the 1, the quarterback sneaking it every time. They get inside the 5, they'll run bootlegs with him. So he has that rushing floor and that rushing touchdown floor that I think, you don't necessarily have to be double stacking him, triple stacking him. I would much rather probably just single stack him, right? Do a little skinny stack with A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert. Take your pick of which one you want to play with him rather than double or triple stacking him. The other thing with Jalen Hurts is I want to play him at MVP in like a 4x1. So if I'm going 4 Eagles and 1 Chief, I like Jalen Hurts at MVP in those situations as well. Saturday afternoon, baby. Guys, when I was getting ready for this game, like when I was prepping for the show, I literally stopped and had to tell my wife, I'm like, I'm getting anxious. I'm getting anxious for the game. And we're still more than 24 hours out. Woo! It's going to be a long 24 hours. That is for sure. That's for sure. So, somebody brought up Travis Kelce. Kev brought him up in the MVP chatter. $1,000. Goodness. He's projected to be about 10% MVP. So if we want to look at the FanDuel or the ETR projections, that's who I use mostly, is established to run. We look at MVP ownership projections. He's right here, right? 10%, around that 10% range as the third highest MVP projection. I think that makes a lot of sense. He has been the best tight end of the year this year. He has been the best pass catcher for the Chiefs this year. But in single game lineups, the position does not matter. And I think that's important to keep in mind here. The positions do not matter. We don't have to play a tight end. We don't, you don't have to have at least one of these guys in there like a Kelce or Goddard, like you do in main slates. So I think that's important to remember, because I think that most casual players who are just going to throw in lineups this week, strictly because it's a Super Bowl, they're going to hammer a Kelce MVP. Because everybody knows Kelce, everybody loves or knows how good he is at fantasy with fantasy football. So everybody wants to play him and they want to play him in MVP. It's hard to blame them for doing that. But I think it's it's going to come in a little bit too high for the optimal. I don't think he's actually going to be, 10-15% optimal as MVP this week. Now, look, I love him. I'm rocking his jersey, baby. I'll probably still have my own 10% of him in my 20 lineups. I just, I really think that the Eagles can lock up MVS and Juju one-on-one on the outside, and they can kind of put all their resources towards Travis Kelce and stopping Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce has had, games when teams have really good cornerbacks that they can, lock up one-on-one. They can put all the resources towards Kelce, and he comes out with 5 catches, 70 yards. Good game. You Chiefs will take it, right? But it's not going to be optimal for the MVP spot. So that's what we have to think about when we're building a daily fantasy lineup. Again, all that said, obviously I'll play a couple Travis Kelce MVP lineups, but I'm not going to go overzealous and get crazy with Travis Kelce this week on the MVP spot. He'll be in plenty of flexes as well. All right, A.J. Brown, $12,500. He is the 4th highest MVP projected. I think he's going to be the most over-owned MVP, in my opinion. Look, if we look at runthesims.com, guys, if you're playing daily fantasy football, runthesims.com has to be in your toolbox. They are running it for free this week, for free for the Super Bowl. This thing is an awesome tool. You come in here, it's already got pre-projections in there, 23.8 to 25.8, and you can run the Sims. And what it does is simulates the game 5,000 times and kicks out, check this out, kicks out who is in the optimal lineup. Who is in the optimal lineup the most, right? So Jalen Hurts, of course, Patrick Mahomes up here for FanDuel. But you go on here and you find A.J. Brown is the 5th most. And we look at MVP, 3% of the time he's in the MVP spot. 3% out of 5,000 lineups, A.J. Brown shows up in the MVP spot. But Established to Run has him projected as 8% owned in the MVP spot. I'm not going to go 8%. I think I'll probably play one lineup out of my 20 with A.J. Brown. Usually I'm all in against the Chiefs, the number one pass catchers, right? I've been doing that all year. But this defense just shut down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And is A.J. Brown even the number one pass catcher on this team, right? Devontae Smith has been great recently. So I'll probably have him. He's projected. What is he projected for total ownership? 34%. I'm probably only playing about 20% A.J. Brown in the flex this week. So I'm definitely going under on A.J. Brown. What do you guys think about A.J. Brown this week? Let me catch up on the chat. I've been talking through some of these players. Got a watch party ready for tomorrow. Man, I'm not, dude. I gotta tell you, man, I'm gonna be all on my couch, screaming and yelling at the TV. Too many libations, like always. Get my lunch boxes rolling, but no watch party for me. It's too nerve-wracking. It's too nerve-wracking. Be a bud, tell a bud. Let's go. As a Colts fan, you agree we shut out the receivers and kept Kelsey to a modest game? Absolutely. God, that game sucked, man. But that hurt. And then the Indy Intercept team brings me on to their live show that night. Oh, that was terrible. I was ready to come on because I thought the Chiefs would easily win that game. Then they lost. Woo! Sky Moore, man, that was rough. That was rough. First beer all weekend. Hey, there we go. Crack it open, baby. Crack it open. First and second TD scored. Goddard Hurts pays $110 for a $1 wager. That's interesting. So you're going first and second TD score. First and second. Yeah, I know. That Indy game was a long time ago, though. Let's get back to the players. Miles Sanders is next on the board at $12,000. Miles Sanders is my absolute favorite MVP play of the game. This is a guy I want in too many of my lineups in the MVP spot. I think there's incredible leverage here. Incredible leverage playing Miles Sanders at the MVP. As we see here on the screen, ETR projecting him only, God, you got to scroll down. Less than 3% owned. Look, they're saying Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be owned in the MVP spot more than Miles Sanders. Dallas Goedert at 4.7. Jerick McKinnon, who hasn't done anything all playoffs, at 3.4. Miles Sanders has been so dominant recently, and he's only at 2.8. I really like Miles Sanders in the MVP spot. The Sims have him at MVP about 3 times as well. When we look here, his MVP rate went down a little bit. 2.3. It was about 2.8, I think, earlier. But I still like him there. That's not that much. Honestly, for me, this is more, I don't know if I can kind of sort. I can't sort these, but this is enough for me to want to play him more than 3% because when I'm going to run out, 20 lineups, if I can get 3 of them, say, at Miles Sanders, if the Eagles are going to win this game, to me, the key is the run game. To me, the key is the run game. And if they're going to have a great run game, Miles Sanders is going to be a huge part of that. When I'm playing Miles Sanders in the MVP, I'll probably sprinkle in some Eagles defense. And I'm not avoiding playing a Boston Scott or even a Kenneth Gainwell while Miles Sanders is my MVP because, again, if Miles Sanders is going to be optimal MVP, that means this run game is humming. And I can see that happening tomorrow. So I like Miles Sanders MVP. I'll probably play him about 3 of my 20 lineups at that MVP spot and just kind of be overweight on Miles Sanders. Another Eagle, Devontae Smith, 11,500. If I was going to be playing a lot more than 20 lineups, I would probably be trying to hammer Devontae Smith a little bit more at the MVP spot. I do think it's within the range of outcomes that he becomes the optimal MVP. But with the lower volume of game entries that I'm going to be playing, I'm not willing to take a huge risk on Devontae Smith. So I'll probably just play one of these lineups with Smith at MVP. But I do think I will have quite a bit more Devontae Smith at flex than A.J. Brown. So I mentioned earlier, I'll probably have A.J. Brown about 20%. I expect to push 35-40% with Devontae Smith. I do think he can have a better game and a higher scoring FanDuel game than A.J. Brown, and he could end up in the optimal lineup. I just don't trust him in the MVP spot. So if I'm going to skinny stack Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith is my favorite skinny stack partner with him. Devontae Smith is my favorite bring back in a 3x2 Chiefs, Hurts, and 3 Chiefs, Hurts, and Devontae Smith. Or say I don't want to play Hurts, I just want to play a pass catcher. I like Devontae Smith. He is my favorite Eagles pass catcher for tomorrow night. Devontae Smith at $11,500. Any chance a different tight end scores for the Chiefs? They love those goal line tight end formations. Jody Fortson's my favorite one, honestly. A lot of people have a lot of love for Noah Gray. Jody Fortson's really kind of been the guy that's the goal line guy. He has been injured a little bit, but he was back last week. Didn't have a lot of snaps, but I could see them, getting inside the 10-yard line, getting a little funky with 3 tight ends out there, and Jody Fortson, could be the one that's forgotten because everybody's going to key on Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, and Jody Fortson maybe falls out the backside and is wide open in the corner of the end zone. So if I'm going to take a shot at a tight end scoring a touchdown, just straight scoring a touchdown, that's not named Travis Kelce or Dallas Goedert, then I'm gonna throw my money on Jody Fortson this week. All right, Isaiah Pacheco next on the list, 10,500. First time we get a Chief not named Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. That's a lot of Eagles up there at the top of the salary list. Finally get a guy in Isaiah Pacheco. I love the running backs in this game. I already talked about Miles Sanders. Both of these teams are going to run out multiple running backs, right? The Eagles have 3. The Chiefs have 2, maybe 3 with Clyde being activated this week. I think if you can hit the right one, you're going to have incredible leverage this week. So I love playing the running backs. I love overplaying the running backs this week because, again, if one of these guys are the guy, you're going to have a lot of leverage on the rest of the field. Eagles are ranked 21st in rush defense DVOA per Football Outsiders. I love that. This, run defense might feel like they're really good, but the pass defense is really what's the best for the Eagles right now. This rush defense can give it up, and they have given it up. They just don't have to do it often because most teams are chasing, right? So if the Chiefs can get a little bit of lead, I think they can lean on Isaiah Pacheco here on Sunday. I mentioned it Wednesday night on my other show, Another Damn Fantasy Podcast. You can find it right here on the Stadium Rant YouTube channel. I like both of Isaiah Pacheco's overs. His over receiving prop at 16.5 and his over rushing prop, I think it was 47.5. I like both of those overs this week. And you can go check out that show and all of my prop bets that I like this week right here on the Stadium Rant YouTube page. Dan and I, we broke it down. We gave out our favorite bets. It was an awesome show. So go check that out if you haven't already. But again, I do like the overs on Isaiah Pacheco, and I like him a little bit here, the MVP spot. I'll play him with Patrick Mahomes. I'll play him without Patrick Mahomes. I'm fine either way there as well. All right, Dallas Goedert, 10,000. We kind of talked about him earlier. I think Drake brought him up. He's not a guy I'm interested in this week. Not a guy I'm interested in, and I want to tell you why, right? The adjustments that the defense has made over the back half of the season, the defense being the Chiefs, I think it's overlooked. If you look at their season-long totals against tight ends, it looks bad. But if we take away the first 7 weeks and we just look at the back end of the season, other than 3 bad weeks, they had a 3 bad stretch, weeks 15 to 17. Take those 3 games out. They've given up, on average, 3.5 catches, 36 yards, and 0 touchdowns to tight ends in the other 9 games since their Week 8 bye. 9 out of their 12 games are averaging 3 catches, 36 yards, and 0 touchdowns. That's really, really solid stats. Like, I don't think anybody's talking about that because the first 7 weeks, they got destroyed by the tight end. The first 7 weeks, they flat got destroyed by the tight end. And then against like Denver and Houston, like the rarest and randomest of that, they got beat by the tight end again. Maybe that had more to do with the fact that those teams didn't have anybody but tight ends to throw to, right? But if you take those 3 games, week 15 to 16 to 17 out, 3.5 catches, 36 yards, and 0 touchdowns, right? Again, positions don't matter in a single game. We don't care that Goddard plays tight end in the single game entry. I think he's a touchdown or bust play. FanDuel has him at plus 180, which is 7th in terms of anytime touchdown odds. So even FanDuel's odds aren't saying that it's a high probability he's going to score a touchdown. And for DFS, he's touchdown or he's bust. And I could easily see him getting 3 catches for 40 yards and not being able to make it into the optimal lineup. So that's kind of my thing on Dallas Goedert this week. I'll be super underweight. No way I'm touching this 30% ownership that Established the Run has him projected for. Let me zoom in this a little bit. Sorry, guys. Yeah, no way I'm touching this 30% here. I can't do that. I can't do that. All right, let's catch up. Pacheco made CEH almost absolutely, dude. I've said it like 100 times already, but CEH getting injured was the best thing that happened to the Chiefs this year. Best thing to happen to the Chiefs this year was Clyde getting hurt. No disrespect to Clyde, please. But Pacheco is far and above better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Far and above better. 2 touchdown bet on Isaiah. He essentially ran McKinnon out of the postseason. Absolutely flip-flopped McKinnon. He destroyed him in snaps played last week. I do think we'll see a little bit more McKinnon this week than we saw last week, just because of the way that the Eagles are projecting to play defense against this team. That really plays into McKinnon's pass catching abilities quite a bit. But yeah, I think Pacheco, 2 touchdown bets are always fun. The problem with 2 touchdown bets for me with the Chiefs is they're so inconsistent inside the 10-yard line, right? Maybe they want to go ring around the rosy again. Maybe they want to direct snap it to Travis Kelce. Maybe they run an end around with Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore. They're just so creative inside the 10-yard line. Very rarely do they just load up and run a dive play. Like, they just don't do that. And so that makes it hard for Isaiah Pacheco 2 touchdowns, but that's why you're getting the odds, baby. That's why you're getting the odds, right? That's why you're getting the odds. Even the Colts where Jelani would score 2 touchdowns. Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, that Colts game was bad. But yeah, right? The first 7 weeks, the defense was really bad against the tight ends. They have gotten a lot better against the tight end. We're going to get to some lineup builds here before too long. Let me get through these last couple of players, and then we'll have the real fun with lineup builds. The aforementioned Jerick McKinnon, $9,500. You know, this has been a disappointing playoff run. We kind of just talked about Pacheco and how he's really taken over this backfield. But McKinnon was the hottest running back in the league for the last 6 weeks of the regular season. As Clyde is as activated, he could take some snaps from McKinnon. I think there's a less than 5% chance that Clyde comes in and takes like a ton of snaps or all the snaps from McKinnon, but that's, not 0, right? I will be running out 1 McKinnon MVP lineup. I'll probably go about 30%. I'll probably be right on a track about where ETR is here. 30% flex. He's in a good range. 9,500 is a nice range of salary. But again, I've been reading some of the research I've been doing. I saw somebody talk about the way the Denver Broncos play defense against the Chiefs and how it has similar effects to how they expect the Eagles to play defense. McKinnon absolutely destroyed the Broncos, right? Kelce ends up with 70 yards receiving and no touchdowns. McKinnon ends up with 3 touchdowns. So not saying McKinnon's going to go off for 3 touchdowns, but I do think that there is a chance he gets back involved in the game plan this week after the bye week, essentially last week, right? Juju Smith-Schuster, $9,000. He's a flex-only option for me. I'm not touching him in the MVP spots here. It looks like, 12% here. Run the Sims has Juju up here at 1 point, showing up in the MVP at 1.3% of the time. I'm not really going to touch this guy in the MVP. Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 double-digit FanDuel games, or in terms of FanDuel points, 2 games, double-digit FanDuel points in the last 10 games, right? So he's He's just not getting the volume of touches and receptions that we need to be the optimal MVP. Right? 5 catches for 45 yards might be enough in the flex this week, but it's not going to be enough in the MVP spot. Kenneth Gainwell, 8,500. He's another flex-only option for me. I'm really only going to be playing this guy in entries that I'm looking for leverage because his projected ownership is way down, right? Total ownership, 5.6. He's getting squeezed here in this $8,000 to $9,000 range. I'm probably going to be playing him in just lineups that maybe feel too chalky that I need to get a little bit different in. Throw him in there. I don't mind that. Honestly, sub 10% ownership feels disrespectful. Kenneth Gainwell, 13 and 16 touches over the last 2 playoff games. He has plenty of volume on this offense. So 13 and 16 touches, that's enough to get you into the optimal lineup this week. So to be sub 10% feels a little bit wrong, and we'll see how that goes. But it's really just because he ends up getting squeezed by, these kickers, defenses, and these Chiefs pass catchers. So I understand why he's getting squeezed, but I think that I would rather take advantage of that and put him in a couple extra lineups because he's going to have low ownership. MVS 8,000, a huge game in the championship game. MVS carries the team really into the Super Bowl. We love that. He's showing up in the Sims about 15% of the time for the optimal lineup. Again, this is for optimal lineup. Where's he at? Where is he at? Here he is, MVS. He's showing up about 50 total rate, 13.4% of the time he shows up in the optimal lineup this week, right? I'm going to find myself pretty underweight on MVS. Juju is healthy. Kadarius Toney is healthy. I guess his ownership is right where the Sims have him. Ownership 14%. He's shown up in the optimal lineups 13%. So that's about right. According to the Sims, that's about right. But again, I think he goes right back to his 2 to 4 catch role, not the 6 catches that he had last week. Before last week, MVS only had 1 game with more than 4 catches. He had a 6 catch game back in week 5. A 6 catch game back in week 5. MVS he's going to run a lot of routes. He's not going to be targeted a lot. Maybe he comes up huge for the Chiefs again, but we're talking for FanDuel lineups. I don't think he finds his way into the optimal lineup this week, at least not as much as other people could. So I don't really like MVS a whole lot this week. He's important to the Chiefs, but might not be important to our FanDuel lineups. 2 more players I want to touch base on here. Boston Scott, I talked about earlier, $7,500. I love his plus 500 anytime touchdown scoring this week. And he's also a great leverage play here at this lower rate. Another guy, sub 3% owned. Nobody wants to play him. Don't go crazy, but I think he's worth a couple lineups. I talked about it on Wednesday. The reason he's one of my favorite bets for anytime touchdowns, the Eagles have split their last 14 touches inside the 10-yard line over the last 3 games through their 3 running backs. Scott has 5 carries for 3 touchdowns. 5 of the 15, 5 of the 12 carries, 5 of the 14 touches Boston Scott's received. He scored 3 times on those 5 touches. So I really like Boston Scott. But again, I'm not going to go hammer him in DFS, but I don't mind sprinkling him into a lineup or 2 because I do think he could find at 7,500. He hits, pay dirt one time. That's all it takes potentially in a game like this, especially if the game goes under, right? 21-17, something like that. But Boston Scott scored one of those touchdowns. He could find himself into the optimal lineup. And then Kadarius Toney. Oh boy, Kadarius Toney coming in at 17% owned, 1% MVP ownership, 1%. If we look at the Sims, Kadarius Toney, less than 1% MVP rate. But I don't care. Throw it all out the window, baby. Throw it all out the window. I'm going to have this guy in about 40% of my lineups this week. A lot of talk about his connection with Patrick Mahomes strengthening this week, growing. A lot of talk about the game plan and how Toney is going to be an essential part of this game plan. The reason he doesn't show up much in the Sims and the reason he's projected to be low ownership is because he can't stay healthy. If the guy can stay healthy and get through the full game, I absolutely believe he could be the key to getting the big bink, winning the big one, right? The 4K. Hell, he might even find himself in the Millie Maker lineup, right? I think this guy is the key if he can stay healthy during the whole game. 32% targets per route run. When he's out there running routes, the Chiefs are targeting this guy. They have a whole game plan around him. No Mecole Hardman this week. I don't think they quite trust Sky Moore yet. I think Kadarius Toney could have a huge game and a big impact on this Super Bowl. And I want to get as much of Kadarius Toney in my lineups as possible. $7,000 is too cheap. If he can play 4 quarters, he will blow that $7,000 salary away. Blow him away. What's up, K-Wild? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Bro, Toney is the best receiver of the team. If he can just stay healthy, he could evolve into a problem for the AFC. Absolutely agree. He just has to stay healthy. He just has to stay healthy. All right. As you notice, I definitely skipped over the defenses and kickers as we went through. Look, looping them in, I'm just going to talk about all 4 of them kind of together. I think they're going to be played. You should play them. Don't shy away from them. Don't put lineups together with all 4 of them in there. But in specific builds, it's going to make sense. It's hard to get to the defenses because it's a 50.5 total this week. But I think there are reasons that you should still be playing these defenses. I love adding defenses or kickers to 4x1 builds. If it's a 4x1 build that I think is going to be like a lower scoring game, throw the defense and kicker in if you want. Or just the defense. I love, just saying like, hey, look, the Eagles are going to smash. Jalen Hurts MVP. He'll throw it to Devontae Smith one time. Kenneth Gainwell or Boston Scott's going to go in there for some salary relief. I throw this Eagles defense in there. And on the other side, essentially, it's going to be, Butker is the only person that's going to get any scores, something like that. So I don't mind playing these guys. But again, it really depends on the type of build or the story I'm telling myself for that lineup. And then you have cheap dart throws. You have some cheap dart throws. These are guys $6,500 and less. I believe that when we come out of the game on Sunday, at the end of the game, there's a very real chance that the guy who is in the Millie Maker lineup comes from one of these guys. Now there's like 5 to 8 of these guys, so which one it's going to be, who knows? But I do think that finding a little bit of salary relief, building a stars and scrubs type of lineup, one of these guys could become super important for the Chiefs. Clyde's at $6,500, Sky Moore at $6K, Justin Watson $5,500. Dude's got a 21-yard average depth of target. If they connect on 1 or 2 of those, whoo, baby. Justin Watson $5,500, Noah Gray at $5,500, and then the aforementioned Jody Fortson $5K. And then for the Eagles, Quez Watkins at $6K. I love Quez Watkins, and if I'm going to do a Jalen Hurts double stack, I love throwing Quez Watkins in there. He does try to hit him with the deep bomb here and there, so I don't mind that. Zach Pascal at $5,500 has seen more snaps recently. And then Jack Stoll, backup tight end, $5K. Look, if you're trying to get real weird in a big tournament, I don't mind sprinkling a little Jack Stoll at $5K in there. I'm not going to be playing him in single entry tournaments. I won't be playing him in my 100-person leagues, but I might find him in a lineup on a 2,500-person contest or even anything larger than that. All right, we're going to start building some lineups. Who's ready to build some lineups here? That's what we're all here for, right? Wanted to talk through all the players a little bit, tell you kind of my thoughts on where I'm at with them, but let's build some lineups. 45 minutes in. What are the odds? What are the odds on Clyde Edwards-Helaire anytime touchdown? Well, let's look that up. Guys built like MJD. I know the Chiefs get credit as hell, but he's a bowling ball. They may use him So, as a Chiefs fan and as a guy who's watched Clyde for the last 2 years, last 3 years, I think the reason that the Chiefs get so creative around the goal line is because they can't turn around handing the ball and expect him to score from the 3-yard line. It just doesn't happen often for them. It doesn't happen often for them. So that's where I think that they get so creative. But let's check it out. Anytime touchdown, I assume it's going to be quite a bit. Oh, come on now. See if he's even on here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire plus 800. Plus 800. I think I'd still rather, if I'm going plus 800 or more, I think I'd still rather put it on Noah Gray, Jody Fortson, Justin Watson, some of these pass catchers over a guy like Clyde. But yeah, plus 800, man. Why not, right? All right, let's if you're in the chat today, thank you. Hit that like button and let me know. Let's do it. Let's build a quarterback MVP lineup. Mahomes or Hurts? Mahomes or Hurts? Throw them in the chat real fast. Let's see what we get. We'll build a Mahomes or a Jalen Hurts lineup first as I pull this up. Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts and MVP. Let's hit this. Let's start this thing out right. We'll hit it with the quarterback MVP to start with. Let me know in the chat which one you want to see us start with here. Man, I'm freaking pumped for tomorrow, guys. I hate that the Super Bowl doesn't start till 5:30. I get it. But holy cow, what am I supposed to do with my day? Luckily, at this point, we're veterans, right? We're vets at this as Chiefs fans. This is our third time to do it. It's so crazy, though, thinking back, like 4 years ago, the first one, had a big watch party, whole bunch of people. Then the following year was the COVID year, so nobody could get together, didn't want to spread COVID. You know, and now this year, everybody's in a chapter of their life and they all have babies, including us. So just weird, right? 4 years, though, Chiefs are still on top. Chiefs are still on top. All right, we got a Mahomes. We got a Hurts. Mahomes. Hurts has more ways to score, do damage, double stack Mahomes. So hard to go against Mahomes. On one leg, he's still a top 3 guy. All right, Mahomes came in first, so let's hit Mahomes first. We'll definitely play a Hurts one as well. But let's start with Mahomes because he came in first. If I'm playing Patrick Mahomes, I said it earlier, I kind of want to double or triple stack him because we're not expecting him to get it done on the ground, right? Like we would Jalen Hurts. We're expecting him to throw 3 or 4 touchdown passes. Now, who does he throw those 3 or 4 touchdown passes to? That's the question, right? I think we could easily go Travis Kelce if we wanted to. There's plenty of salary on the table to do that. We could go Travis Kelce. We could throw in a Kadarius Toney. I love Toney. I told you guys that earlier. Right? So Mahomes is hitting these 2 guys for touchdowns. And I think that if he throws 3 touchdowns, these 2 guys could get all 3 of them. But maybe he's going to throw that 4th touchdown, and that's the guy we got to find, right? We want to build a 4-round one, underdog 4-round one. Nobody else is, not nobody. It's not going to be played very often. And that's when I want to bring in a guy like Justin Watson, like Noah Gray, like Jody Fortson at 5K. You could easily do that. Sky Moore at 6. Right now I'm going to go Justin Watson with that 21-yard ADOT. Maybe he hits him for a bomb. That allows us 16K, so we can't get to Jalen Hurts. And even if we went down to like a 5K Jody Fortson, we can't get to Jalen Hurts. 4-round one with Jalen Hurts, that to me is pretty spicy. I like that a lot. I like it a lot more than anything else, but I can't get there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and probably go with who I talked about earlier, which was my favorite pass catcher if I'm going to do a 4-round one, and that's Devontae Smith. Leaves us 45K on the table. 4,500, excuse me. We can do one of 2 things here. One, we can leave that on the table and be less duplicated, or we could upgrade a Justin Watson to like a shoot. You could go, what? Can we get MVS, Juju? So you could get one of these other guys. You could throw Harrison Butker in there, right? The kicker. But again, if I'm playing Mahomes, I really like to triple stack him. I don't think it's going to be very popular. And that could be a way to get different for a guy who's going to be MVP 30% of the time. You can go Jerick McKinnon. I don't mind that one either. Now, that's only $500 left on the table. I could see this one getting duplicated a lot more than, say, if we did throw an MVS in there. But for me, I want to be a little bit different. I don't think Juju and MVS have huge games. Justin Watson, it could take him, one long bomb touchdown to outscore MVS, Juju, and Jerick McKinnon. And then the rest of it goes through Travis Kelce, Kadarius Toney, and then, of course, Devontae Smith on the back end going crazy. That's just one way I would potentially build a Patrick Mahomes MVP lineup. Okay? We'll do a couple here. Obviously, there's only so many lineups you can build, but we will go probably right at 1 hour. So we got about 10 minutes left here. We did get a Jalen Hurts. So as I start to build a Jalen Hurts in the chat, if you're here with me still, who's your favorite non-quarterback MVP? Who's your favorite non-quarterback MVP? So we can build around those. Let me know in the chat. We'll build around each one I see come through. Your favorite non-quarterback MVP. Again, I want to know your favorite non-quarterback MVP, but I'm going to build one around Jalen Hurts as well. Let's see if we can get Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes in the same lineup for fun, right? Let's see what that brings us. 8,500 already. So they're expensive to play together, which I think won't happen often. One thing that I kind of forgot to talk about earlier, I wanted to talk about with Run the Sims. First of all, I can change the inputs. Say if I'm going to go Hurts MVP, let's say the Eagles win 30-20. That's right, 50.5 total. Eagles win 30-20. I can do that, and I can go over here and hit Run the Sims. And they're going to now spit out an optimal lineup for a 30-20 game, okay? That's why you need to go use Run the Sims this week. You can put your own inputs in, however you think the game's going to go. Look at this MVP thing. 57% of the time, if the Eagles win 30-20, 57% of the time, Hurts shows up as the optimal MVP. But we can take it one step further with Run the Sims. You go over here to your custom lineups. Look at all these MVP lineups for Jalen Hurts. All these MVP lineups. So, and we can go here. We can go Jalen Hurts at MVP. And then let's say we don't want to use all the salary, right? Let's just say we don't want to use all the salary. So we can go max salary at $59,500. Now we knock it down. This is a chalky build. Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Harrison Butker, right? That would be super, super chalky. Look at this ownership, product ownership. That is ridiculous, right? So maybe we find something less. We can scroll down a little bit. Now we look at this one. Get down to 84 product ownership. Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert, Juju, and Patrick Mahomes, right? And then they throw in a Zach Pascal. And it's, it shows up eight times out of the 5,000 lineups. So if you get on here and you use Run the Sims, super easy to use. And also it allows you to just kind of mix and match and think about different things you want to run. Think about different lineups, kind of shows you, how duplicated is the lineup going to be? What's the average for the lineup, right? So if I take this out, the very top one, 81 is the average. So can I get close to 81 while also having a lower ownership? Let's try to find that out. So just thinking through that with Run the Sims, I wanted to mention that maybe you go the other way, right? Maybe it's 30-20 the Chiefs. 30-20 for the Chiefs. and you want to run the Sims with that one. My assumption is Mahomes and Hurts will probably flip-flop. So okay, Hurts is still showing up as the most optimal player, but now Patrick Mahomes' MVP rate is caught up with him, right? Instead of 57-28, it's now 37-36. So Travis Kelce has shown up a little bit more often. So go do that on Run the Sims. It's free this week, y'all. Free. This is like a $350. I don't even know what it is for the subscription all year, but this week it's free. So you better believe I'll be using that quite a bit with my builds. Okay, so Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, $8,500 left on average for a Jalen Hurts MVP spot. For me, if Jalen Hurts is MVP, maybe he's doing it with his legs. Maybe this run game's going well. Patrick Mahomes, I need some pass catchers for him. I don't need pass catchers for Jalen Hurts. I need some for Patrick Mahomes. Maybe this is a Kadarius Toney, and hopefully maybe can I get to Miles Sanders with these two? Leaves me $6,500 on the table. $6,500. Do like a 3 around 2. Come down here, you get Quez Watkins. Don't mind that, right? I don't mind that. Do Quez Watkins. Or maybe you don't want to do Miles Sanders. Maybe you want to do an A.J. Brown with him. You could do A.J. Brown. You still got to get cheap. You could double stack him. I told you earlier, if I double stack Jalen Hurts, I want to double stack him with Quez Watkins. So you do a Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown to Quez Watkins. Leaves you $7K on the table. You could really just get different. Go Zach Pascal and just do a 4-round 1. Or you just do a 3x2, throw in a guy like Sky Moore, Justin Watson, one of these, ancillary pass catchers for the Chiefs. Something like that. Okay. All right. So I asked you all for your favorite non-quarterback MVP, and I got it's hard to go against Travis Kelce. And I agree. It is very hard to go against Travis Kelce. So let's build a Travis Kelce MVP lineup. Travis Kelce MVP lineup. Again, I told you guys earlier, as soon as Travis Kelce shows up on the MVP spot, it's an auto click for Patrick Mahomes. Well, hell, it's not even an MVP spot. It's an auto click for Patrick Mahomes, right? So let's tell a story. Travis Kelce scores 2 touchdowns. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the optimal MVP. That means the run game is gone. The run game is gone, right? For the Eagles. Because the Chiefs are out in front. The run game's gone. We're going to have to throw some pass catchers in here. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could. No, you can't. You can't play Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts together. I guess if you want to play Jody Fortson and Justin Watson, Jody Fortson and Quez Watkins, I guess you could do Watson and Watkins, actually. Right? So you do a go superstars and scrubs, baby. Superstars and scrubs. I don't hate it. I honestly don't hate it, but that's not what I want to do here. But we are going to say that the Chiefs are out running. So maybe in this case, if the Chiefs are dominating, their run rate goes up a little bit more, right? So Pacheco gets a little bit of run, and Harrison Butker, because the Chiefs are scoring a lot more. So he's getting extra point after extra point here, right? Leaves us $9,500 for an Eagles player. Think about it, right? The Eagles are now chasing the Chiefs. The Chiefs have got out ahead of Kelce, a couple touchdowns. Pacheco running the ball like crazy. The Eagles are going to be in catch-up mode. One guy they play a lot more in catch-up mode than they do any other time. That's Kenneth Gainwell, 8,500. Fits like a glove. It's a nice, well-rounded 4x1 build, and it tells a story. And that's what I like to do. So I like that quite a bit here. So you can go that route. You could take out Pacheco and Gainwell and say, you want a Dallas Goedert in there. And so you can play like a McKinnon instead of Pacheco. You want to go higher. You want to get A.J. Brown. You love A.J. Brown. You could go that route, and you could go with a cheaper chief, right? Kadarius Toney again. So obviously there's 100 different ways, probably 1,000 different ways you can build each one of these. Do you like 3-2 build over 4-1? No, actually, I much prefer the 4x1s. And that's because nobody else is not, I keep saying no one, but it's not like no one's doing it. But everyone's building 3x2s. Like, that's the easy thing to do. It's so, nobody wants to come in here and say, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are going to play together. And I want to put both of them, and then I just want to run one of them naked and not play. Like, as soon as I put one of these quarterbacks in, I want to put a pass catcher with them. It's natural to put a pass catcher with them, right? It's natural to say, I gotta get somebody. Maybe it's just going to be MVS for the Chiefs. I got to get somebody that Patrick Mahomes is going to throw to. It's natural, but I like the 4x1s more. It doesn't feel as good, but that's what I want to do. And that'll actually lead me. Let's do it. Let's build a 4x1, and let's do it. It's even less. It happens less to do it with the underdog, right? So the Chiefs are 1.5 point underdogs. If we look at history, more people will do a 4x1 with the favorite versus the underdog. So if I want to do that, let's do a Chiefs 4x1. But I want to get Mahomes and Hurts in here because I want Hurts to be on the other side of the 4x1. If that's the case, we can't do Travis Kelce. So I talked earlier about really wanting Kadarius Toney in a couple times in the MVP spot. So let's do that. I like, if we're gonna go, 4/1. I like to use defenses or kickers. So in this instance, maybe the Chiefs just absolutely dominate this game, right? And this Chiefs defense dominates. It doesn't mean Hurts still can't get there. He can still outscore all of the other Eagles. But the Chiefs defense absolutely dominate. So I got Toney at MVP, Mahomes, and then I take my choice, right? Do I want Pacheco or McKinnon? In this case, if the Chiefs are dominating, I'm going to say Pacheco just keeps running the ball, right? So you can do a 4x1 with the underdog and still get, potentially the best play in Jalen Hurts. Some people will run Jalen Hurts as the MVP and then just run all 4 Chiefs because he runs so much. Maybe he runs in 2 touchdowns, right? But he throws a pick 6 and the Chiefs still win the game 24-14. Something like that. So people will kind of mix and match this way. But yes, I do like 4x1s. If I'm doing a 4x1 with the Eagles, my favorite player to bring back would be McKinnon as that pass catching running back. Again, it's saying that the Eagles are dominating. I think we would see a lot more McKinnon in that fashion. Use Travis Kelce in a 4x1 with Miles Sanders as my Eagle. All right, let's do that. Travis Kelce in the MVP spot. Mahomes and Miles Sanders. Okay. Leaves us $8,200 on average on the table. $8,200 on average. Let's throw Harrison Butker in here. And then just take your pick. Do you want to play, is this going to be a low scoring affair? Maybe it's low scoring. Maybe it's, I predict that the Chiefs are going to win 24-20. That's my prediction. It's going to go under 44 points. So 24-20. In that case, if the game is 24-20, Travis Kelce catches 2 touchdowns. That's why he's our MVP. Harrison Butker's kicked 1 field goal plus 3 extra points, right? That's how they get the 24. Miles Sanders scores a touchdown, maybe 2, getting there for the Eagles. So who is the other one? Is it another touchdown scorer for the Chiefs? Is it the Chiefs defense? Because they hold the Eagles to 20 points. Maybe it's MVS. Maybe 24-20. Maybe it's actually Jake Elliott and don't do a 4x1. Thinking about the actual makeup of the lineup versus what you think is going to happen. Right? If it's 24-20, there's not going to be a lot of points scored. I don't think it's going to be a Justin Watson, Sky Moore, or Clyde type of situation. Not a 24-20. That tells me it's a pretty tight game. I think, they're going to be dialed in. And if they're dialed in, they're going to be, the Chiefs are going to be dialed in on getting the ball to Travis Kelce. That's why he's in the MVP spot. So in a situation like this, I actually don't mind, thinking about that is just throwing in like a defense. Say the defense kills it. But again, you've got options. MVS, Chiefs defense, Kadarius Toney. Take your pick. Maybe it's MVS that scores that 3rd touchdown in a 24-20 game. So think through it like that. All right, I'll give you 1 minute. Is there any other lineups type of builds that you want to see? Whether it's a player in the MVP spot or maybe a game prediction. Maybe you're like, hey, Trevor, what's it going to look like if it's 12-6? You got a game prediction or some kind of lineup that you want to see based on a scenario. It doesn't mean it actually has to meet. Like I'm going to build a low scoring lineup out of my 20. Doesn't mean I think the game's going to go low scoring. It's a 50.5 over under. It's a 50.5 over under. I don't think we're going to get less than 40 points. But I'm going to build one lineup like that because you got to be contrarian. You got to be contrarian in some spots. Is there any other scenario or any other player that you want to see specifically in a build before I shut this thing down this week? As you think about that, I'll kind of show you my lineup spreadsheet because I got one. So this is how I track what I'm going to do this week. So I haven't actually built all my lineups yet. I built a couple of dummy lineups just to kind of see what it looks like. I probably should have put some of these in as we were going. But this all auto-populates, right? So if Patrick Mahomes, here's a lineup right here. I think I talked about this lineup earlier, actually, didn't I? Just kind of threw a dummy lineup in here, right? If I want to say it's going to be Jody Fortson instead. Jody Fortson. All right, so now that takes me down to, and this is if they're in the MVP spot, right? So ceiling projection of 98.5, total ownership 153. Instead of Justin Watson, 156. Ownership 101, ceiling projection. So I can kind of mix and match. So I'll have this. This is what I'll actually build most of my lineups on. But this over here is going to be tracking like how I'm using them. And this is what I was telling you guys earlier. Right now, these are not actuals. These are what I want. This is what I want to see in the MVP spot. So I'll throw out one Jerick McKinnon, and I'll be playing 2 Kadarius Toney MVPs. So that's kind of what I want to do, right? All right, let's build. How about a weird 13-10 score where the Chiefs have an issue moving the ball through the air? Okay. 13-10 score. If Chiefs are having the issue, let's say that the Eagles won the game or the Chiefs won the game. It doesn't really matter, honestly. 13-10. First and foremost, the thing I'm going to do in a really low scoring game is I'm going to put the rushing quarterback at the MVP spot. I'm going to put because there's not going to be any points. You could play a kicker MVP 13-10, right? The team that scores 13 points, that's 2 field goals. You could go real weird and do that. I don't want to do that. I would still say Jalen Hurts probably becomes the MVP most optimally. And we can even do that in the Sims, right? If we go to the input in the Sims, Chiefs scored 10 points. Eagles score 13. Chiefs struggle throwing the ball is what you said, right? So maybe we increase their rush rate to 44% because they're going to run the ball a little bit more because, they're not scoring any or they're struggling moving the ball. You hit run the Sims, I guarantee Hurts is probably 80% MVP on this one. Oh, only 44? Dang, I thought he would be killer MVP rate. So when it goes here, you start to see some of the Eagles. Look at the Eagles defense. You start to see some of the defenses creep up here on the MVP rate, right? Kickers are still kind of down here a little bit ways, so not really in the MVP spot. But defenses are in the MVP spot. So what I would do here in this instance is definitely put Hurts here. I'm playing the Eagles defense, and I'm going to play both kickers. I'm going to play both kickers because if you're saying that the Chiefs aren't moving the ball through the air much, we know that they kick one field goal. Actually, I might not actually play the kicker because it's only one field goal. Maybe, but if it's a 50-yarder, it'll be good. Let's just play him because we're saying it's going to be nobody else is scoring, right? Where's the points coming from? But we know when I'm scoring, kicking one field goal at least. You can then throw Patrick Mahomes in there if you want. But if they're struggling to move the ball, I'm probably just going to say, the Eagles probably running all over them and just putting Miles, not running all over them, but being more successful with the run game and putting Miles Sanders in there. Again, we're expecting, if this is the case, that there's not going to be a lot of fantasy scoring here. So who's the guarantees? The quarterbacks. The quarterbacks are the guarantees. In this case, who scores more points? Mahomes or Miles Sanders? Probably Mahomes. But who scores more? Butker and Mahomes or Sanders and Travis Kelce? Right? You could kind of look at it in a 2v2 or Sanders and Pacheco. Like you could look at it like a 2v2 like that. But yeah, if it's going to be 13-10, I'm definitely going to put the defenses and kickers are getting into the mix in that point. Defenses and kickers are getting into the mix there. It will be closer to 50 than 44. My prediction is 47. Well, come on. That's not closer to 50 than 44. If my math is right, that means it's the same. Right? Let's actually build that lineup. I did see you put a score in here earlier. 31-16 Eagles. So let's make a lineup. 31-16 Eagles. So let's make a lineup. Well, 31-16, the Eagles are dominating. I'm putting Miles Sanders at MVP. I'm going to get my leverage, put Miles Sanders at MVP. I'm still going to play Jalen Hurts, right? Because the Eagles are still scoring 31 points. So I don't want to not play Jalen Hurts if they're scoring 31 points. In this case, Chiefs scoring 16 points. That's 3 field goals to me. That's what I'm reading. So I'm going to build a 4-round one of Harrison Butker. I'm going to build a 4-round one of Harrison Butker because the Chiefs are scoring. They're kicking 3 field goals and an extra point. That's how they get to 16. That's what I'm reading. Obviously, they can go for two times late or whatever, but I'm reading it as they're moving the ball, but Harrison Butker ends up, kicking the field goals every time. I'm probably also going to end up playing Eagles defense in something like this because it's, a route. So Mahomes has to throw the ball more often. Maybe they get a pick or two, right? Maybe they get an interception or two because Mahomes has to throw it even more. They're pinning their ears back. They're getting sacks. Just the Chiefs offense isn't moving the ball much. They're only scoring 16 points. Only 1 touchdown. That leaves us 13-5. So now who scores the other touchdowns for the Eagles, right? Miles Sanders is absolutely dominating. But Jalen Hurts throws 1 touchdown pass. Who does he throw it to? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Don't feel like you have to play A.J. Brown just because of the salary. Leave salary on the table, guys. It doesn't matter this week. The salary doesn't matter whenever you have when you're building stuff like this. right? It's just who do you think is going to score that touchdown? Miles Sanders is dominating. Miles Sanders scores 2 of the 4 touchdowns. Miles Sanders scores 2 of the 4 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts doesn't run in a touchdown. He throws for 1 touchdown. Who is that 1 touchdown going to? Who's that 1 touchdown going to? That's what we're looking for in something like that, right? So, yeah, I like that lineup. Sorry, I forgot about that earlier. So I'm glad we could hit that. Glad we could hit that. All right, I'm going to shut this thing down, y'all. Before I go, you know, I can't leave you. I can't leave you without a little bit of Chiefs love. As I mentioned earlier, I think it goes 24-20. Chiefs are taking this bad boy home.
Every single day.
Just taking it.
Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking right side. He wants it. A comeback cut. It is caught by Kelsey.
One more
When it's
time.
grim, be the Grim Reaper.
One more time.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
Thank you all for being here. Love you all. Hit that like button one more time. Go Chiefs. Follow me on Twitter, whatever. We'll be back. I don't know when, but we'll be back. Take it in.